Well, let's just get started, and if you would, tell us your story. You know how you got here, and you know, start from walk us through from childhood and where how you got to where you are today.
Okay, I'm going to try and be as brief as possible. Once you like pastors or preachers, once you let go of the mic, cut. So no, I'm born and raised in McAllen, Texas, and from Texas, obviously, we're five in the family. My sister's the youngest, the oldest, and I'm the second. But and I'm kind of jump certain and highlights the most important things, because then you will be able to understand the reason where I'm at today. Um, my dad was a minister, so we were brought up within the Christian home, and through our childhood, McAllen was still a small town, and as we grew, uh, we had the certain challenges, as of where we lived. Um, that uh, that my mom working two jobs kind of brought me into a position, or brought me to see a lot of things of, of certain needs that all of a sudden my mom and dad uh, worked so hard to provide for the family. Um, I will say my first job was at a Circle K gas station, uh, working night shift. And on my first day, and again, those are the things that mark they stay with you for your life. Uh, Very innocently, at that time there was no pay at the pump or anything like that. You out from the inside, you open the pump. Uh, there were three guys pushing a car to the gas pump. And it was very innocently my first night. I opened the pump. They put gas in the car and they drive away. And I'm like, what happened? So, obviously the manager says, you can pay for it, or you can call the police and file a report, or it's, at the end, it got settled. It got settled. Uh, my second part is while I was going to college at University of Pan American in Edinburgh, Texas, I had the opportunity that I was working at this kind of like a thrift store, a consignment store. Um, and I was 18 years old, 19, and the owner decided that he was going to close shop, and it was a consignment close that he would buy bundles for $200, and the bundle had like 500 pieces of sweaters. And all these are new pieces of clothes that from Macy's, from Belk, from JCPenney that don't sell. They take them to distribution to put them in the bulk. You buy them by the bulk, not knowing what's in there. They ship them to your place, and so forth. And this is Ozzie as his first, I would say, work little business person here at 19, 20 years old. The owner says, I want to sell because I'm going to move to Houston, bigger market than McAllen. I was so interested in buying the business. No money. I go to my dad. Dad, I need to borrow some money to buy this business. It's doing very well. And he says, Ozzie, we don't have the money. It says, so I go back to the owner and I say, what options do I have? Can you give me some options? He said, well, I can see you the inventory. I said, how much? He said, so forth. Yeah, so much. Okay, go to my dad. I said, Dad, Do we have enough to buy the inventory? 19 years old. So my dad says, okay, I'm gonna help you, but you're gonna be the one doing this all. So where do you plan to sell? My mom at that time, she would go on the weekends and to like again make some extra money, go to the flea market and sell things. It says, I'm gonna go every Saturday, Friday and Saturday to the flea market and sell these clothes. Um, we buy the inventory, we buy a box old truck, we buy the hangers, we buy everything to display. And for about 6 months, I was riding that truck Fridays and Saturdays, very early in the mornings, to the flea market, putting everything out, outside. Uh, and for 6 months, I did that, selling those clothes at the flea market. So that's kind of where that entrepreneur business started. Not knowing, after that, I moved to San Antonio, here in Georgia, but that's the beginning of where I started.
Very good. So, what brought you to Georgia? I mean, so that, being married to a Texan, it was hard for her to leave Texas. So what brought you from,
There was family that already here.
yeah,
And they said, Ozzie, the plumbing is growing. At that time, I was working for a franchisee, a Denny's franchisee, doing all the accounting for that. She owned 38 restaurants, Denny restaurants, Texas, Kansas, and Missouri. So I was the controller for the business. I had, and we had come once to visit, to explore, to see, to know. Very different in 2000 and 1999 of what it is today. San Antonio being a city, Riverwalk, you have everything, Fiesta, Texas, you're giving up all that for a town and city called Cumming. And after in 2002, it was they hit me, they tried to persuade me not to move the company, but I decided to make that change in my life, and seeing that I saw the growth, not the growth that exists now, but I was able to feel for it, and that's what the family was part of the help to help me decide to move here.
and then when you got here, what was the first business venture that you went out on? What was
The first business venture was Latin American, which was the translation services for magistrate court, state court that I did for 7 years.
Huh?
Being, somewhat fluent in Spanish.
Yeah.
Un poco español. But, so I was doing that. It was a great experience. I got to build relationship, because that's very important. Build relationship with the judges, with the attorneys, with the clerks, but also understand sometimes the situations that people face in the community we live.
And then was the grocery store next? What?
The grocery store, and let me just back a little bit on the translation. It's so you live certain moments, experiences, and I'll share an experience that also I go to magistrate's court. It was a new deputy, and so they communicate with the other attorneys inside the court, and it says, "What's your name, sir?" And it says, "Ozzie." And he calls into the radio, Attorney Ozzie is coming in, and not knowing that I was a translator, but those are the things that sometimes you stand out, of course, because how you dress,
Sure.
how you present yourself, and how you relate with other people.
Yeah.
So that was a very unique situation, and just made me feel like, here comes the attorney. I was like, Carnes Hernandez gets open in 2003. I come in physically in 2008 to run and manage the grocery store. It needed a lot of help. I was not yet I did not become a partner till 2013.
Yeah.
2012. Once the grocery store was a little bit needed some management organization.
Yeah.
And once I did that in 2002, turned around, making a profit and so forth, paid all the debts that I had before. I kindly said, okay, guys, it's time for me to now do my own. They said, no, you need to stay. You can't leave. You can't leave. And obviously that's when I became a partner to the business. And, it's been 20 years now with the grocery store.
And so you at some point then decided the restaurant business was, yeah. So talk about that. Like, how did, I mean, I realize it's all in the world of food, but that's a big jump to go from, a grocery store and how a grocery store operates to a restaurant. How did that happen? What was the inspiration of that moment?
Well, what happened is also when I was in San Antonio, and before I worked for Denny's, the franchise, Denny's franchise, I found myself in a position where there was these partners owned a restaurant. They were silent partners, and it was not, also, again, it needed some management help. They say, Ozzie, are you committed to go in and turn it around? I said, I'll do, but if I get my office desk back, so I said 3 months. Give me 3 months, and I'll turn it around. So it was October, November, December, and within 3 months again, I was there every single day at the restaurant. So being there, not knowing almost 10 years or, so many years down the road, the experience and knowledge I was gaining also. I was not just only managing and turning that restaurant to become a profitable business. I was I was gaining that knowledge, experience of running a restaurant, running the back house of the restaurant, understanding the food costs in a better way. So my life has just been, a step of preparation for what was coming in the future.
Yeah,
Not knowing,
sure.
it was just taking place. So that kind of made me confident because of everything, from Denny's restaurant, from the Denny's franchise, from Mario's restaurant in San Antonio, Texas, to the grocery store, to venture out and open Palapas Bar and Grill.
Very good. And so and when was that? When was
2012, the same time as the grocery store. When I said I was leaving, they said, no, do yours, but don't leave us here.
So then how then something about the donut business sounded good. So how did that happen? How did,
Well, uh, and I'll share one more thing about Palapas. Uh, Palapas, and it came to the situation of the road construction. Highway 20, when Palapas opened, it was a two-lane highway,
right.
two-lane. So I opened the restaurant in 2013. By beginning of 2015, they started the road construction. It was, it was a survival time of, and uh, you know, things I sometimes did not, they weren't working as quickly as one would want it to.
In the road construction business?
So that led me to connect to the community around Palapas,
Yeah.
which is Windermere, Chattahoochee, James, all the subdivisions in James Burgess Road, and that area. That was the connecting to those communities brought the success of Palapas of the road construction of just over 3 years. So those kind of things is what sometimes make the difference. We the lease, I decided not to renew the lease, and the lease was up in March of 2020. November, I sent the landlord, I'm not renewing the lease. By that time, I already had Palapas number 2, which is on exit 18.
Mhm.
We get to March of 2020 when COVID, and my lease ended March of 2020. I mean, I was out of there March 2020, not knowing in
Yeah.
November what was coming. So, and obviously there's, why close? There were some issues with the landlord. He wanted to go up so much higher than the rent. It was not the timing, I felt.
Sure.
So that was open Palapas number 2. And then during that time of COVID, my brother worked for Shipley Donuts in McAllen, Texas.
Yeah.
So he calls me and he said, Ozzie, you need to get into this. It's the person that he worked has 4 Shipley Donuts there in the McAllen, the Valley area. Very successful. Their sales during COVID went up because they had to drive through donuts in the morning, so that brought an interest to me to do my due diligence, to look, to see. I went to Houston maybe like 6 times. We traveled to Houston, saw their operation, saw their shops, the donuts, being there one morning at 3 o'clock when everything starts. And at the same time, they had just opened one in Jacksonville, Florida, and they were looking for a franchisee here in Georgia. Because of my hospitality experience and knowledge, they saw that was a good fit, because there's a lot of people that want to get into the business, but they may not have that background especially that you have to be up at 2:30, 3 in the morning.
Right.
So they saw the experience, the knowledge, the area, and that's how the opportunity came.
Very good.
Your
Very
brother, thank.
Yes.
Well, and so, we've covered a lot of territory. So we're talking about, the role of family, the role of faith, and how that has played a role in in getting you to where you are. But I'm curious, like when you look back on those things and being, some people might say the right place, the right time, and other people would say, it's faith. But the things that brought you to where you are, all of those steps, when you look back to 19-year-old Ozzie and looking at a box lot of sweaters from Macy's, what, when you think back on that, what do you think made you decide to do something different with that?
Well, I think seeing my mom working two jobs.
Yeah.
And the uh the the part of them making needs making needs being met at the home, definitely that inspired me to do something so that my experience, it motivated me to go a little bit more further, and do something that will be more, beneficial, or not go through my family not go through that situation. So that motivated me. Obviously, my mom has been a big motivator through that time. She's already passed away, but just seeing her work, I think that's number one. Second, again in San Antonio, there was a firm that I worked, and uh, you know, and it was two partners. They were in real estate. They had businesses, and they knew my dad, so they took me into their business, and just watching, and they had this, again, corporate office, in the bank, and me working there, and I at the beginning I felt a little bit lost, out of place, but again, motivated me watching them, how they dressed, how they acted, how they presented themselves. So right after my first paycheck working there, I went and bought me a suit, some new shoes, pants, and I happened to sit, and one day one of the key owners passes through, and he tells me, "I'll see you look good." So, at times it's very important how we present, because
Sure.
there's other people watching, and they pick up from ourselves as well. So watching them and how they've been, how successful they were, also motivated me to come to that, success.
Very good. When you think about, you've taken some educated and calculated risks, but risks at key points. When you've gone about doing that, and this really is, I guess, more of a leadership question than it is anything. There are plenty of people who would just be afraid and say, this is too much risk, I can't do this. Regardless of how much experience or education they have, there's just a fear that will block. When you approach those key decisions, that got you to where you are, and you think about those risks, how do you approach it? Like what pushes you through that concern or fear of failure, or fear of the unknown, or what pushes you?
I mean, I will say that through the years, I've made some bad decisions, and some businesses that have not done well. But, obviously, and I recall one of them, which was a very low investment. You know, being, again, listening maybe to people that I should have not been listening to. But as well, I feel like I needed to go through that situation. I needed to have had that experience. One, because it was a low investment, but it taught me so many things about who you are connecting yourself to. The advice of people that, Ozzie, you should do it. You should do it. Well, of course, and learn me what now is, why didn't you do it?
Right. Right. That's right. Yeah.
So we kind of, that opened up that situation to now a lot of people come to me and we should do this and do the other. Now I'm cautious to listen to those kind of conversations because I ask now, why don't you do it? You take the risk. If you feel it, if it's something that it may be for you, not for me. So, but those are situations that have come up. So, so definitely those, you come and now I see so many things different. Shipley, I had to make 7 trips to Houston. A lot of conversations, a lot of, see the documentation behind it and so forth. And it's just a matter of now making sure, to secure a lot of things behind the product or what you're trying to build.
So based on that, what's next for you? I'm not saying somebody slowing down is what I'm saying. I'm saying somebody who's hit a stride. So
last year, Shipley opened in March 20th. We opened Shipley. With some other partners, we opened Terraces Bar and Grill, which is in Johns Creek, in April 2020. So within a month, there's that restaurant in Johns Creek. I have a franchise agreement to open 4 more. My territory is Forsyth, Dawsonville, Dahlonega. So, the challenge has been a location. And before, I knocked so many doors that, trying to get the opportunity to bring Shipley to certain areas that were being built and so forth. Being that it was new, being that there was none open, being that there was no history, obviously they would go with the competitor. But now Shipley's open, now they're calling me. I got a call from Woodstock, get a call from Gainesville, I get a call from Marietta. So, and that's good because even though we haven't been a year open, we are, getting the name out there, and we're just barely one open. There's right now certain opportunity that is presenting itself, but we're still in that initial due diligence process.
You mentioning that reminds me, not much after you opened Shipley's, I got a call from a neighboring community. It was their economic developer who said, "How in the world did you get a Shipley's?" And I said, "We are very fortunate to have a very thoughtful, smart business guy in our community who I will tell you, I didn't know at the time your brother was working for him, or I would mention that too. But anyway, so almost immediately, you certainly were getting that sort of that raise. Okay, so expansion of that. Have you considered other avenues like, I don't know, maybe running for office or that sort of thing?
Well, yeah, after certain speeches that or opportunities that I've been able to make. There was one speech 2 years ago. Were you there, Lauren? With the Unidos,
Oh, yes,
the Unidos?
yes.
And it was like, Ozzie, you sounded like you were running for office. Were you there, Cheryl, or not? No. And you know, I think if the right time, comes and there's that opportunity that I can serve the community and I can contribute in the right way, yeah, I would look into it and see. I mean,
Let the record reflect that was not a no. There was not a no in there.
Politicians.
Well, that's great. That's great. Well, and certainly, I mean, you have already done an incredible service for our community and continue to be a great servant of our community and corporate citizen. So we've got just a few minutes left, about 15 minutes or so. Why don't we do this if it's sure. Yes.
I just want to share something.
Please, please.
Before we open up.
Oh, yes,
Uh,
that's right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where we're at on timing, but it's been very important for me as a leader, and I see so many things that, I as a leader, you don't stop learning. But James, do you know how many steps there are on a 10-foot ladder
No, I don't.
or in a 6-foot ladder?
Well, steps or
Steps.
levels. It looks like there's 5.
There's 6 on the very top.
Well, but there's a sign up there that says "Do not step on them." But yes, I'm with you. That's why I was asking. Okay, so 6. Okay, we'll go with
There's
6.
6. I see that's there's steps that you have to take in life and in leadership and being a leader. And I just want to share with the group of certain things that I have, I take my team or that group of people that are surrounding me, because that's very important. It's not just about Ozzie, it's about the team that is around you. You're only successful when you have the right team around you. And I just want to share with this ladder certain things that have, and we may not be able, I'm not going to go, very in detail because of time. But obviously, as a leader, I always try to have a vision. And that would be step number 1.
This way so the folks online.
Yes.
See most.
Maybe you can help me.
Yeah.
No, the camera.
Once you have that vision, you have to have a good team. Obviously, with the vision, the team, you have to have a plan. For me, this is very important with everything that I do. And I try to, for me, leadership is lead by example. I have to be the first person and lead and be the example to everyone. Communication is so important. I've had managers come to me, they can say, Ozzie, we have a problem. And says, let's start all over again. We don't have a problem. We have a challenge. For me, I address everything that comes out as a challenge, not a problem. Because you'll find a solution, an answer to any situation that comes up. So communication is so important, and I could go into it because it's how you communicate with your staff in a positive way. In the morning, good morning, how are you doing? I try to shake everybody's hand. You know, I'm not at every location and every day, but when I'm there is, how's everything? How are you doing? In any business, okay, everyone requires a lot of patience. The moment you start forcing things, it's not gonna go well. You've gotta have a lot of patience with everything that you do. With patience comes the execution. And with the execution and the patience, you have success. The most important thing in anything that I've done in every project, I believe a lot in being passionate. And this is what holds the ladder at the end of the day. It's your passion of what you do at every business you're at.
Good. Good, thank you. So, before we open up for questions, let me just ask, you talk about the team. And that's, other than the vision, foundational in this exercise. I say this at every one of these events. Is anybody having a challenge finding people to help in their work and find, filling positions? Anybody having any trouble?
No,
with
not at all.
yeah, exactly.
What would make you think that?
So it's, right, and of course, I said it jokingly, because
Yeah.
of course, it's the most universal business problem
Yeah.
in the country, and regardless of the region. So how do you find that? How do you go about finding people that are going to share the vision, that are going to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish, especially given, there's a grocery, the donuts, there's the palapas. So very different skill sets or different skill sets and different approaches. What is your philosophy and an approach to finding great people who are going to be so foundational to the rest of the work?
My first approach is trying to give the opportunity for those that have already been in business, have been there working for you.
Yeah.
And, that have been loyal, they deserve an opportunity. I'm straightforward, and understanding, but then again, it's where I become their mentor. I walk them through the steps. Everybody says, "Oh, I can be a manager. I can run people." It's not about running or, being over people and telling them what to do. Is also being a partner of the people. So I try to stay as close as possible within the first 3 months. 3 months is, as you've heard, for restaurant. Certain Denny's restaurant, they gave me 3 months. If I didn't fulfill certain things that I needed to resolve for that company, I was out in 3 months. 3 months is a good time frame for any business to really prepare or receive. But again, you've got to be passionate and dedicate, So within 3 months, you're going to be able to tell if that person is going to really be that lead, that next manager or next person in the team that are going to help you make those hard decisions and help you grow.
Very good. All right, well, we've got 8-9 minutes left. Those of you who have joined us online, certainly feel free. You can either unmute and ask a question, or you can submit it on the chat, and Laura will let us know if,
I was gonna say, I think we've got at least one individual online who wanted to either have a question or a shout out, just FYI, James.
All right. The floor is yours.
Hey, James, it's Lynn.
Oh, all rise.
Hey, you guys, I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I definitely wanted to hear what Ozzie had to say, but also I more importantly wanted to give support to Ozzie in the good work he does and to say that my family and I supported Ozzie quite regularly when he was down at Windermere Parkway at 20 with Palapas, and then probably much to his chagrin, we followed him when he went up to Browns Bridge Road and just brought more people to see him on a regular basis and leave his restaurant in quite a bit of disarray. But he puts up with us anyway, and we love him and his family and the way that they treat their customers. And he has the cutest little robot that runs around the restaurant delivering drinks to people. And so Ozzie, that's very forward thinking and very smart on your part. I was like, I wonder if I can get some robots like that that would help me at the hospital. But, I'm gonna have a sit down with him and figure that out. If they can deliver a good margarita, maybe they can deliver some Demerol to somebody. But I really wanted to give a shout out for Ozzie for his generosity in November. Ozzie, just without prompting, they offered and we accepted at Northside Forsyth to they sent us 15 dozen donuts the first, second, and third Thursdays in November. And just we were able to share a lot of wonderful food with our staff. And those of you who know the hospital business, you know that a good donut, even a crumb of that, does not go to waste. And so those really went far and wide. And we were so touched by Ozzie's generosity that we added an additional 10 dozen at the end to make sure that every department in our hospital could taste the great Shipley donuts. So I want to thank Ozzie for that great act of generosity. The hospital appreciated that more than you'll ever know, Ozzie. And I know you have a lot of fans over here, not only because of that act, but just because of who you and your brand and the things that you've done for our community. So thank you for being such a great leader and for what you've done for our hospital and our community.
Yeah, very good. Anyone else in the room? Questions?
Question.
Okay.
Please.
So you talk about being a mentor to your team, but obviously you're surrounding yourself with some really smart people as well, and people in a business standpoint who have been mentors to you. Who from the business community has really helped you get through some challenges?
You know, I think my bringing up and part of as well, I read books. I'm right now I'm reading Chase the Lion. And then what caught the attention is if your dream doesn't scare you, it's too small. Mentors, I mean, definitely also one of the partners at the grocery store. I've picked up a lot from him. He's also very in the business. He lives in Tucker, Littleburn, but I've learned a lot from him as well. He's done very well. So I think it's very important who you connect yourself to. I also have friends, I have a golf buddy. And when we play golf, we feed from each other and we try to support, in the different things that he does and I do and pick up on his words, and he picks up, so that's certain people that I have connected or that I stay close to.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi, Okay, thank you so much for sharing your story. It was really interesting. And I'm also really happy that you put a Palapas on exit 18 because I live closer to there. My question is around, like, as a leader in the community, what are things that you have found in this area that really speak to you as far as how you give back your time and your resources? Maybe not just donuts, but like to be able to give back. And my main question around that is why? Like, what is it in you or your past experiences that um, have give you those passions in those areas?
I serve in I'm a member of the Rotary, North Forsyth. And I also sit on the board of, the United Way of Forsyth. Cheryl as well, sits in that board. Uh, you know, I think my success is not it's not only about Ozzie, it's the community that I've had the privilege and opportunity to serve. But, being on those boards helps me because there's now a group and a contribution from other leaders that we can even do better and greater things within the community. Uh, my heart is in education. Anything that helps, and then that's the Rotary that supports a lot of the education. And again, I can do it all by myself, so I feel proud to be part of the Rotary that we, as a group, we can do a lot more. And so, the time, being that I have great support, I'm able to be in those different places. And yes, sometimes it gets a little bit hectic trying to arrange your agenda, but I try to for me, one of the key things is punctuality and try to not miss all my appointments or my meetings because again, I try to be as connected as possible within the community. Last month, I served as a principal of a day at Silver City. I want to congratulate the person that said it's going to be a poll worker because I was a poll worker last year. With all the things that came up about elections, I wanted to have that personal experience. So last year in our governor's elections, I served as a poll worker, and I invite anyone to have that experience. Again, I learned, I was able to see hands-on, what goes on, and especially because they give you a full day, half a day, morning, afternoon, do the afternoon, because you're going to see the experience of how it all, the checklist, the secure, and I'm proud of our state and there's been so much talk and so forth, and I'm, but I had that experience and gave me more confident of our election system that we have here in the state.
Okay. All right, well, we have come to the end of our hour. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you for lunch.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you for the donuts. And thank you for those of y'all who joined us online.